Jack.
Levi.
The Book Club from Hell.
Hello everyone, this is Jack with the Book Club from Hell, a hard-left egg-slonking club seeking to reclaim the egg-slonking crown from Bapcore Twitter. This week, we read Raw Egg Nationalism in Theory and Practice, Cook Good with the Raw Egg Nationalist, a politically and philosophically motivated cookbook from 2020. The author, Raw Egg Nationalist, seeks to defeat global homogenisation by strengthening the nation-state. And how does one strengthen the nation-state? In short, by engaging in the noble pursuit of bodybuilding. And bodybuilders need good nutrition, hence Raw Egg Nationalist's cookbook. Having already used the recipes in this book for scrambled eggs and fisherman's eggs, as well as planning on making the anabolic ice cream, I'm feeling powerful, feeling nationalistic, I'm feeling ready to hit the gym and make some serious gains against global homogenisation. So if you're ready to slonk eggs and chew bubblegum, and you're all out of bubblegum, then listen on. Enjoy.
The spread of the weird Western cafe gym thing all over the world. You can walk into the same cafe and the same gym.
Yeah, cafe, that's such a good way to put it. Yeah, it looks like an expensive cafe where they tell you the temperature at which they serve coffee. That's how a lot of the gyms around me at the moment look.
Yeah. And for some reason they all have like the same staff.
Yeah. The same white dude covered in tribal tattoos with dreadlocks who talks about wellness all the time works at all of them. Like, I go in there and just think, fuck off. I just want to get stacked. I don't want to hear you talking about my chakras.
Don't care about wellness. Yeah, chakras. I'm in the heart of the Chakraville. Hey.
Yeah.
Ubud.
Yeah.
I'm in Ubud right now. I can feel my... Have you ever heard of yoni?
No.
Yoni sunning?
What's that?
The yoni sunning. Well, your yoni apparently is like the chakra that's in your perineum.
Oh, okay.
So like
the gooch for people who don't know what a perineum is.
Your like in between your anus and your gonads, or whatever. If you're a woman, in between your anus and your vagina, and then yoni sunning. There's this trend. Actually, somebody posted that on Discord. Somebody posted a meme of it on Discord of like people who spread their legs and stick their gooch up at the sun for like 15 minutes a day. That shit came out of Ubud.
Really? Actually?
Probably came out of Rishikesh, actually, to be honest. It's either going to... But actually, like, those sorts of things, like, Ubud is one of the world centers. The other one is, like, just obviously, like, Southern California is guilty of this shit as well. The other one being Rishikesh in northern India are just, like, hippievilles. And then all of them, then people just leak out of those, like, those little enclaves of super hippiedom into places like Melbourne and just
and open gyms in the inner city.
Yeah.
But I have to try to dodge until I find a normal gym where I can just do curls like a normal person.
Ubud might not be ground zero, but because of this particular book called Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh, is that Eat, Pray, Love land?
Yeah, it's Eat, Pray, Love just blew up amongst white girls. White girls in America and Australia just love that shit. Good pair of Lululemon yoga pants. Eat, Pray, Love. And a bit of yoni sunning, mate. Good days, happy times.
Yeah, so that was basically everything that Raw Egg Nationalist talks about in Raw Egg Nationalism in Theory and Practice.
And fucking hates.
Yeah, no, it's what he loves. This whole book is about that. So, I've actually used a handful of the recipes in this book already. This is not a bad book at all.
No, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to cooking.
When it comes to cooking, this guy really knows what he's talking about. I haven't done the ice cream yet. I strongly
agree with how he cooks.
But
I strongly agree with how he cooks.
Yeah, I want to try the ice cream out. He's led to a revolution in how I prepare scrambled eggs. That's been really good.
Genuinely good. The only thing that he's missing is that with scrambled eggs and omelets, sometimes adding just like a little teaspoon of water can actually just help thin it out a little bit. And actually, that sometimes depends what consistency you want. That can help a little bit.
Diluting
I was kind of
the
surprised
calories.
that he didn't pick
This guy's all about maximum calories. Maximum caloric density, is what defeats globo homo most effectively. This is maybe we should outline what this book is, because the idea for this book is so bizarre. It's so much fun. It's basically like a cookbook combined with Bronze Age mindset. It's at the end of, I forget which of Mike Marr's books it was, or it might have been both of them. At the end of either Gothic Violence or Harassment Architecture, he starts talking about dietary advice. Some of the advice Mike Marr gives is sort of dumb, and he also seems to be advocating for urine therapy to make the skin on your face look better.
Seems to be advocating, not seems.
Yeah, I think he just says like he
he's
pisses in his own face. Raw Egg Nationalist doesn't do that, or at least not that he mentions in this book. This is like a better version of that.
So what is the premise of Raw Egg Nationalism? Actually, it's not very cryptic. It's kind of exactly what it sounds like. But I suppose
it's actually a really good description. It's not like, for example, Bio-Leninism, which is a really good name, but actually doesn't completely track with what the contents of the Bio-Leninist philosophy.
Yeah.
However, Raw Egg Nationalism is basically what it says on the tin. Like, he's a nationalist. He doesn't like globalism, and he really likes raw eggs.
For the purposes of getting yoked, so to speak.
and that promotes nationalism.
And he's big on one thing that might not be obvious from the thing, is that he's very like, if you imagine there's this strand, would you call it like alt-right, or would it something para-alt-right, something like that? It's just like anti-woke, reactionary, just like, we're all about getting jacked, we're all about being nationalist, we're all about eating raw eggs, and we're all about like being masculine and shit.
I always think of it as just, it's weird right-wing Twitter, because it's specifically weird right-wing Twitter where it gets really bappy, where you get this kind of stuff, like that intersection between bodybuilding, nationalism, definitely a very strong element of not trusting women. Definitely a strong strong element of not trusting, I guess, mainstream dietary science, which is not unreasonable.
But also,
really.
I've never known
I don't really have a problem with that.
Strong elephant who trusts mainstream dietary
elephant.
advice. Every strong elephant that I've met has always
they'll start
turned up their trunk.
Turned up their trunk at it. Started telling you to eat more cholesterol.
The Fiat dietary pyramid. Have you spoken? Well, I don't want to. We were corrected by one of our listeners. Shout out to the Discord for like referencing our friends that, like, obviously you guys who are listening to us and developing a deep parasocial relationship with us do not know the rest of our social network. But one of our friends,
I kind of prefer to keep it that way.
I won't go too deep into it, and also other people who are not our friends, such as Cypher D and Amoose and the other Bitcoin crazy people, which I fucking love, including and Michael Saylor and Robert Breedlove, who all have podcasts and shit, public figures. They fucking love calling out the Fiat food pyramid.
The food pyramid is a bad idea, though.
It's a bad idea. It's the idea that you just load up on
load up on simple carbs.
Glycogenic.
Don't bother getting much fat.
Simple carbs.
Don't bother getting much protein. You don't need those. You just need to blast sugar straight into your veins and you'll be healthy.
Yeah, especially high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, that's really good for you. That makes you live forever.
Diet Coke all day. Yeah, that's the Fiat food pyramid. Why is it Fiat? Because it came out of the National Center for Health.
It makes you lose weight, lose fat, gain muscle, and live forever.
Yeah, so that stands in direct opposition to what raw egg nationalism is about. Because inevitably also the Fiat food pyramid is put forward by fucking globalists at the World Economic Forum, World Health Organization. You see any overlap there? World Health Organization. Sounds pretty globalist to me.
If the organisation doesn't exist within clearly demarcated national boundaries, I don't trust it. So
So this guy is definitely in BAP territory.
it is interesting with raw egg nationalism. He says that he promotes a raw egg lifestyle, which is an esoteric movement of like-minded individuals, and notes the crossover with other worthy politico-ethical causes such as raw milk nationalism, raw meat nationalism, handsome Thursday, funky monkey Friday, and open borders for hotties. And then he gives a shout out to a bunch of people on Twitter called things like Autist Lives Matter, Solarian Spartan, Ziz Respecter, Flashy Gopnik.
This guy's such a character.
This
I think what
is
happened
so
is
on like right wing Twitter. Right wing Twitter is such a specific feel. I don't spend a great
such a
deal of time on
strange.
Twitter, so I like as anyone who follows our Twitter profile will be aware of, we don't spend much time there. But what brushes I have had with this corner of Twitter, you can immediately tell when someone's part of it.
We would probably get along with right wing Twitter though, as long as they don't take themselves too seriously and they don't mind us like making fun of them. I feel like they'd probably like
They seem
get
fairly
amongst it, hey?
thick-skinned on the whole.
Which is unfortunate. Like, didn't Mike Margot get banned off Twitter? Maybe he's back though since Musk took over.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't.
I hope he's back. Bunch of weirdos. But this guy, what I really like about this part of the Twitter sphere is like he says at the beginning of his book, at least the version I've got because he published an updated version. Is like at the time he had like a few thousand followers on Twitter, and then he just published this book. I don't know, just probably just as a way to like make a few bucks and just sort of like flesh out his thinking a bit more, and it blew up. Went off and like massively expanded his following, and then he even got invited on like Tucker Carlson.
Wait, Roaring Nationalist was on Tucker Carlson?
So basically, what happened is he had a few thousand followers. Then he published this on Amazon for like $5 or something, and it blew up for some reason. It just like caught on, and people started sharing it and shit. And then his Twitter blew up, and then because he had this book and his Twitter blew up, like he got invited on Tucker Carlson, which I assume just got him even bigger on Twitter.
Hmm.
So I find that very funny that like this just weird right wing bodybuilding nationalist guy who had a few thousand followers on Twitter publishes this weird book that's just like pumping up his audience, just like not even making any pretense to try to reach across the aisle and like make any understanding. It's like, no, just raw eggs and nationalism.
Yeah.
And Tucker Carlson fucking loved it.
Yeah, so here's a quote from Ben Braddock, who's a friend of raw egg nationalists, which sums up the link between eating raw eggs and nationalism, because the link it's philosophically important. You can enjoy this as a cookbook without buying into or even understanding the philosophical underpinnings of it, but all the dishes you cook from here will taste that much better if you do really grok what's going on. So
If you're also a nationalist.
Ben Braddock says, the premise is simple, really. We are nationalists of a variety that emphasise the health and vitality of the nation-state and all who live in it. The corrupted toxic food supply is an outgrowth of the large-scale, low-quality mindset of globalism that is no concern other than the bottom line. No loyalty to the health and vitality of the country or anyone in it. So, nationalists are allies, globalists are the enemies. And so an important thing to understand in parallel to this is that as you become more jacked, so throughout this book, the author promotes bodybuilding as a lifestyle. And as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, you're going to naturally become more and more right wing, because what does bodybuilding promote? Well, it promotes self-sufficiency, self-overcoming, pushing through pain, self-improvement. And those things naturally cause one to become more right-wing. He notes the the handful of attempts by the left to embrace bodybuilding subcultures, but says that those are doomed to failure because ontologically the bodybuilder is right-wing, and likes nationalism, and eating lots of raw eggs helps you put on muscle. So those are all the links between eating lots of raw eggs and nationalism.
And there was this thing called, what was it? It was like woke and jacked or something, woke
Yeah,
and
like
yoked or
swole,
crap. It was like
left or something like that.
the swole left. Which I looked at that and I was like, yeah, all these guys, they might be a little. Well, one, they were pretty soft, anyways. They weren't exactly the.
I actually didn't bother
To
looking
be
at it. It's
fair,
good that you did the
like,
research and looked
yeah.
at pictures of.
To be
Yeah,
fair, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Republican. Republican governor. All right. That's the only political person that I know who's also a bodybuilder. But checks out to me. As far as I'm concerned, his thesis is right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Here's another good quote actually as to the deeper significance of the egg. So, of course, eggs are important in allowing you to put on lots of muscle because they've got cholesterol for synthesizing sex hormones and protein for stacking on ropes and ropes of skeletal muscle. But also, they're symbolically important. I quote, "Since time immemorial, the egg has represented variously the created world, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, the sun, the sexual act, and much more besides. The dichotomy raw cooked is also of important symbolic meaning too, capturing the eternal interface between nature and culture, between the powers beyond us and the powers within us as humans, between the mute world in itself and the concepts we create to understand it, the world as will and the world as representation. A symbol of the generative power of nature, the raw egg, when consumed, symbolically returns us to a nature from which the modern world alienates us. But perhaps I've already said too much, for these are secrets that are revealed to the initiate only with time."
Getting metaphysical up in this bitch.
I just want listeners to bear in mind this is a cookbook.
Semiotic and political analysis of bodybuilding and egg overconsumption. And that's in the intro as well. It's like straight up.
Yeah. And look, I'm all for, because this book is targeted at, I'm assuming, young men. And I'm all for young men learning how to cook because a really good way to be more in control of your health is to be able to prepare your own food. And an embarrassing number of young guys don't know how to cook. And if you're not cooking your own food, you're kind of just at the mercy of whatever faceless food manufacturer wants to dump in your food because it's cheaper or makes you addicted to it. And it's just not a good long-term strategy. You want to control what you eat. And from that perspective, I like what this book is setting out to do.
And I think it's important to note that we also like the nationalism.
Yeah,
Very important.
Naturally.
As well. I mean, all that health stuff is great, Jack, but really what we're here for is the nationalism. I think one of the important things about this book is that, like, it's very appropriate that we were reading this after Jung. There's a very tight relationship between the body of the individual and the fact that and the strength of the state. So it's very very Plato-esque in its ethics. It's saying if you're strong physically, strong intellectually, that will lead. If you have a whole bunch of like strong macho dudes eating 30 raw eggs a day, we're also going to have a nice strong state.
Well, your exterior appearance is an indication of an interior virtue.
True.
So if exteriorly you have 35-inch arms, then interiorly something even better is happening.
Have the 35-inch soul or something.
Yeah, I guess.
Something like that. Something good. Anyways, basically, if you're jacked, you must be a good person.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I can't think of a single jacked person in history who was bad. They might have been misunderstood, but not bad. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been jacked.
Misunderstood.
Because
Yeah.
being jacked is a manifestation of a deeper virtue.
It's an interesting strategy.
So, insofar as we think that the jacked person is doing the wrong thing, it's we who are wrong, unless we're more jacked than them, which means we are more virtuous.
It's an interesting strategy that he put forward. He's like, okay, well, I think that there's a strong relationship between your physique and your nationalism and the strength of your state. So therefore, what I will do to assist is I will help young dudes understand how to eat more eggs.
Yeah, yeah,
And he's a very open-minded person. Although it's called raw egg nationalism, he does actually have a lot of recipes in there for how to cook eggs.
yeah.
He's not completely just about raw eggs. I think he has a preference for raw eggs,
Hmm.
but he's like, if you're a little bitch and you can't stomach 30 raw eggs a day, here's some recipes as well.
It's more of a posture towards your diet rather than something prescriptive, because he says everybody's
Yeah,
raw egg
yeah.
nationalism is going to be somewhat different. It's going to be an expression of your inner virtue. And as such, so perhaps I could approach diet using this framework set out by Raw Egg Nationalist, but whichever alterations I make, for example, I'd want much less simple carbohydrate than this guy puts in his cookbook. That's my own individual path. So long as I'm following the tenets he sets out of cooking your own food, keeping it nice and high calorie with lots of fat and lots of protein, then that's okay. He also he also does say a bunch of things that, like, really, really early on in the book, which made me much more sympathetic to it. He softened me up. He said that, or I don't think he specifically names it, but basically, if it fits your macros as a concept, he says is incorrect and dumb, and I do agree with that. I think it's it's a
Mm,
really bad
mm.
idea.
Yeah, if you just get all your protein from protein powder
Yeah,
and then you just consume all your carbs from just like high fructose corn syrup, that's probably going to lead to a different outcome than like eating a steak and potatoes or something.
yeah. He says that
Doesn't take a genius.
he doesn't like the food pyramid, which I also don't like. It
Unless you tip that bitch upside down.
I'm all about that high protein, high fat diet. He says that cholesterol has been demonized. This is really complicated. Probably, like, you probably have more cholesterol in certain situations than conventional wisdom says, but I'm not going to get into an extended discussion on cholesterol metabolism because that's really fucking
Shouldn't you
complicated.
only eat cholesterol? Shouldn't you only eat? That's what I'm trying to do.
Only cholesterol, yeah.
Only cholesterol,
Only
pure
cholesterol.
cholesterol.
Yeah, but his
Yeah,
his point that cholesterol is necessary for sex hormone synthesis is true. Like, if you want to be a really high test nationalist, you're going to need something to make that testosterone from, and that something in part is going to be cholesterol.
and there's definitely like there's different types of lipoproteins. So you
Yeah,
definitely don't
yeah.
want to just like
That's
get your all of it just from like what are they called, trans saturated fatty acids. Like if you're getting all your cholesterol from eating McDonald's burgers, you've probably missed the point.
yeah. You get them from egg yolks that are uncooked. He says that raw eggs are better because heat denatures cholesterol. I had a look at this. The studies backing up this point are somewhat inconclusive. The temperature, and particularly the duration of heating required to even denature like tens of percentage points of the cholesterol, or to break it down, was longer than you would be cooking, for example, scrambled eggs for or an omelette. But it will degrade some of the cholesterol.
By sounds of it, it's pretty marginal. Probably not actually worth worrying about.
Yeah, I wouldn't take dietary advice from an obscure book podcast, but like, it's fine to cook your eggs. Make your scrambled eggs. You'll be all right. You're not going to lose all your gains because of it.
Yeah, I don't know. You shouldn't really be looking for any advice, really,
No, no, we're going to offer financial advice next.
except financial advice. And my financial advice is buy Bitcoin and then transfer it to Levi. Send me one Bitcoin, I'll send you two. Yeah, like definitely shouldn't be getting advice from us. But if you were to get advice from us, one piece of advice would be like, don't sweat cooking your eggs too much.
Yeah, you'll be okay. His point that in at least in high income countries, like, food safety is such that you probably can eat raw eggs and you'll be fine. Like, you probably don't need to be worrying about Campylobacter or something like that. And that is true, but I'm s- I'm still probably going to cook my eggs. He hasn't convinced me not to cook my eggs.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're reading this in Nepal and you're thinking about like in rural Nepal and you're thinking about just becoming a rural Nepalese raw egg nationalist, like maybe cook your eggs, maybe. I don't know what the OHS standards, like the food and health safety standards, are in rural Nepal,
Oh,
but
it
I can only
depends where
assume
you are.
that.
Like when we were there, some people were like just putting food on the floor around like a fire pit in the middle of their hut and then cooking it there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, look,
yeah.
when I was there, I had gastro to the point where I started hallucinating. So the food can be pretty microbiologically active.
But that wasn't from raw eggs, was it?
No, I don't think it was from raw eggs. I think it was from water.
No.
My weak Western digestive tract just got absolutely
Everything wants to kill
obliterated.
you. Even the fucking water wants to kill you. No, to be fair, I'd say like I assume most water wants to kill you most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, look, the water's cool. It's just what's living in it. One thing I did find funny about this book was just how online it is. So we've already mentioned that this guy is active on Twitter, and particularly like the BAP Bronze Age pervert side of Twitter. But it's just this ebook is so aggressively online. He's constantly taking pot shots at rival groups of online personalities like swole leftists or manosphere grifters, constantly shouting out his
So
friends on
good,
Twitter.
so good.
It's really funny.
What is the manosphere exactly? What constitutes the manosphere versus just like these guys? Like, so Mike Marr and Raw Egg Nationalist aren't a part of the manosphere.
Not okay. So this is coming from an expert on the manosphere. When I say that, I want everyone to be aware that
We
I'm a
need to do
world
some
expert on the
manosphere.
manosphere.
We need to do a manosphere episode.
When I think manosphere, I think of the people who it's like pickup artists, red pill people. Uh, they tend to be people who really who keep talking about how they don't like women and women are ruining everything, and then spend an autistic amount of time worrying about how to impress women without consulting women. That to me is that's what I think of when I think of manosphere.
Yeah, so like DeSantis, Jordan Peterson.
DeSantis.
I'm
I don't know.
being an idiot. I'm being a fucking
Jordan
idiot.
Peterson does have crossover into
Manosphere
manosphere stuff.
vibes.
I don't know if he is, but certainly people that I would think of as more conventionally in the manosphere talk about Jordan Peterson a lot.
But a lot of looks maxing, that could be manosphere adjacent.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably put it in that bucket. MGTOW, men go their own
Oh,
way.
MGTOW. Okay.
That seems
Oh,
manosphere.
okay. Red. So r/red pill. Does
Yeah.
that still exist? Or they could shut down. Anyways, r/red pill. Yeah, like certain parts of looks maxing, MGTOW. Okay, yeah, they suck. And raw egg
Yep.
nationalism.
So
Raw
I
egg
agree with Raw
nationalist
Egg
doesn't like
Nationalist on
them.
that point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of overlap between like what I think sucks and what raw egg nationalists think sucks.
Yeah.
Probably somewhat sympathetic to his points of view, and I really like eggs, and his recipes are really good.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I endorse every single point he makes, but I expected this book to be shit, and I actually enjoyed quite a bit of it. Like just the fundamental project of convincing people to learn to cook for themselves is great. Telling people to take care of their health is great. And he actually is quite supportive in his tone. So a lot of these sort of right-wing internet ebooks are quite aggressive or condescending towards the reader,
Extremely condescending,
whereas
yeah.
this guy's much nicer to the person reading, and that's good.
Yeah, and he's also not a bad writer.
No,
I assume he
he
didn't have an
writes
editor.
well, and I like maybe there are typos, but I didn't notice anything that really
No,
jumped out at me.
they're pretty engaging, nice short sentences, straight to the point.
Yep,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
funny.
no, good on him. Like, largely, it's just
This is a
yeah,
really
just
fucking weird cookbook that if you're a gym bro,
yeah.
you will probably get something out of. I think I'd recommend this. especially if you're going to the
I don't
gym.
know, like there's something weird, just the idea of just like, okay, now we're gonna mix all these things like bodybuilding and fitness and like fixing up your diet and stuff with nationalism. To me, I'm just
Yeah.
like, what,
I'm sure he
why
would say
under
it's a natural combination.
Isn't that? Yeah, I'm sure he would. It just seems
Well,
really
when
weird.
I say I'm sure he would, he does fairly explicitly say that it's a natural combination. I was hedging that too much.
Say, yeah, it's a natural combination.
So a lot of it has been inspired by Vince Gironda, who was a bodybuilder
Oh,
and a
so good,
bodybuilding coach.
so good.
And Raw Egg Nationalist
Extremely
calls
aesthetic.
him the Nikola Tesla of bodybuilding, given that he was an underappreciated
So
genius.
good,
And
so
he
good. Yeah,
particularly likes Gironda's approach to diet, particularly the 36 raw eggs a day diet, which is pretty self-explanatory, actually. You can guess what it involves. His basic theory was that, okay, so what does someone need to put on a lot of muscle, assuming that they're going to the gym? Well, you need a shitload of protein and shitload of cholesterol and a shitload of calories. So what he did is he told people to make 3 times a day this this milkshake, which sounds just brutal to get through because of how rich it must be, which is 12 eggs with milk and heavy cream in a 1-to-1 ratio, plus minus honey or maple syrup. And he claims that this 30 egg per day diet is almost as good as a cycle of Dianabol, and probably better for your liver than Dianabol. And he says it's so good. He says there isn't peer-reviewed evidence for it, but in the world of fitness, anecdotal evidence, that is bro science, is better than peer-reviewed articles. And I agree. I love bro science. We need more bro science. We need more respect for bro science. We need to appreciate the rich oral tradition that is bro science.
I fucking love bro
It's
science.
so good. Like, when I say I love it, yeah, probably 80% of it is just complete horseshit. But that's not the point. It's a beautiful tradition.
But I also love the personalities that like Liver King. Like when it came out that I mean, like when it came out that Liver King was taking steroids and there was that big kerfuffle about it, I was like, who the fuck is even remotely surprised? Like, give me a break.
Yeah,
And
it's
who
like
was
just
seriously
who
eating
looks
actual
like that
raw liver?
not on
Who
gear.
was listening to this guy? Who thought he was natural? Who the fuck is actually eating raw livers? Like, just buy his fucking supplement and just like go to the fucking gym. Like, that's all he's trying to do is sell his goddamn supplements. And now he's getting all this grief as if anybody thought he was natural in the first place. But I really like him, and I really like all the other weird personalities that this bro science thing attracts. I like Ziz. I like all the throwbacks to Arnold. I like Vince Gironda.
Like Ricardo Piano, rest in peace.
I like Rich Piana. So fucking good because they just don't give a shit. They'll just do whatever they want to their own body.
Well, the thing is, it's like, well, it depends what you mean by give a shit. Like, all of them
Yeah,
were
true.
terminally, well, not Arnold Schwarzenegger, like terminally online, obsessed with how other people would view them. But they were very strange human beings, very generous with how much of their lives they'd share with us for free. And for that, I appreciate them, especially Lord Ziz.
And my favorite of all, Big Lenny. Big
Big
Lenny.
Lenny.
And
I don't think Big Lenny's
what
even
was his
selling
name?
supplements,
Jason.
and I would not buy something that Big Lenny was selling. It'd probably kill you
It's just
instantly if you tried taking it.
jaundice. He's just selling jaundice in a pill.
Yeah, you're taking it, just chews up your liver. It's actually just 15 grams of paracetamol on a pill.
Paracetamol and liver flukes.
Yeah.
And what was his friend Jason? Not
Oh,
Jason
Jason
Derulo.
Genova, the piss lord.
Jason Genova, the piss lord, the fucking greatest. Oh my god, there's so many good personalities in this like bro science space. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, so insofar as Raw Egg Nationalist means these bizarre online fitness personalities, and bro science when he talks about how in fitness anecdotal evidence is better than peer-reviewed evidence, I agree with him. If that's what he means. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I also do like that he mentions Sun and Steel like, quite a fair few times, actually.
I think there's a legitimate like hole in the market to kind of like do the bro science thing and like mix in some interesting philosophy like the Book of Five Rings and Sun and Steel and I don't know, like the art of war and stuff like that. Mix all that sort of shit in there, maybe a bit of Plato, fun times. Mix that in and also not be a complete fucking idiot. Like there's this dire need in the pro science space of just not being a fucking idiot. There's got to be somebody.
Here's a great quote. If anything embodies the Faustian spirit of being at once the experimenter and the matter experimented upon, it is bodybuilding. I love these sort of metaphysical justifications and defenses of bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is fundamentally such an absurd pursuit. It's just so ridiculous. Just try to get big muscles.
Not really an athletic pursuit either.
But I love people enjoying it and then building back from there this philosophical justification for why it's really good.
Yeah, they're extremely passionate about it. Yeah, and you don't really see this in like, well, you do see it in yoga because the yoga people have all their crazy woo-woo stuff.
Yeah, and the Hindu tradition.
Yeah, there's something about getting...
Which, when compared to bro science, is pretty boring. It just doesn't have the depth of bro science.
Because, I'm getting into diving, and there isn't any woo-woo shit in diving. It's just like, yeah, if you are, could die, so don't fucking do anything stupid, basically.
Yeah.
Yep, come up for air.
There's probably just less room for error.
Yep. Whereas like with yoga and bodybuilding in particular, there seems to be this thing where like people get real philosophical about it.
And as good as raw egg nationalism in theory and practice is, the best philosophical justification for bodybuilding is still Sun and Steel by Yukio Mishima. That's very special. If anyone is an aspiring gym bro of any gender, then you really do need to read that book.
And he was a nationalist.
He absolutely was a nationalist. You're right.
Yeah,
the pieces
so
are falling into place.
There really is something about this. Yeah. And I can only assume that Arnold Schwarzenegger is a nationalist, no? Probably something of a nationalist. He probably wouldn't say it that directly, but like, I think he loves America, don't you? He's pretty American.
Probably need to get him on that 36 raw egg a day cycle to bring out his nationalism. You never know, maybe he'll become a crazy Austrian nationalist, which tends to get people worried.
Yeah, I get pretty worried when I hear any Germanic person getting particularly nationalistic. All right, settle down.
One other thing about this book is that the author says that there's a direct link between raw egg nationalism and animal welfare, because the raw egg nationalist only wants the best eggs, and the best eggs only come from the best treated hens. So animal welfare is vitally important for keeping the nation state alive against the forces of global homogenization. Or globo homo, as he says regularly.
The thing that I'm surprised, unless I missed this, unless I just can't remember, I'm blanking, but like, I'm surprised he didn't talk more about hunting.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. I was expecting that too. Maybe that's more raw meat nationalism.
Right.
And he's wanting to stay
I feel
in
like
his
hunters
lane.
would never eat the raw meat, though. Like, a hunter knows what's up. They're going to fucking cook their food, right?
Nah,
like, that's a dumb fucking thing. Go and kill a
only
deer
if
in the
you're
wild and eat it.
blue-pilled soy hunter, bow hunting bits of tofu in the forest. Real nationalists just like bite straight through the skin of the deer while it's still breathing.
They don't even like use a weapon. They just run up to the deer, tackle it to the ground, start eating.
Attach to it with their teeth,
like a lion. Different animals, right? Like go for different parts of the body when they hunt. What's fucked up? Okay, leopard. If you're going to get eaten in the wild, just shout out to anybody living in Africa or anybody going to visit Africa. If you're going to get eaten by a wild animal, you definitely want to be eaten by a leopard because they'll go for the back of the neck. they'll just fuck you up. You'll be dead really quick, and then they'll just take you. The animal you don't want to be hunted by, wild dogs. Wild
really?
dogs, they don't go for the neck. Yeah, they go for the anus,
Wait, what?
and they'll pin you down and they'll eat you from the bottom up. Yeah, it's fucked up.
Why do
Go
they
and
do
watch some
that?
hunting videos of I don't know, it's really weird. They'll eat the soft part of the belly and the anus first, and so you'll see these animals getting eaten by these packs of wild dogs in Africa, the African savannah dogs, and yeah, they'll the animal will still be alive for ages whilst it's getting eaten by these dogs. It's fucked up. Whereas the leopard takes them out straight away. Lions as
Damn.
well generally go for the neck. Yeah, it's crazy.
Which part of the body does the
I
nationalist
reckon
go
if
for
you're going to be a raw
when the
hunter,
nationalist is looking for raw meat? Where
go
are they going to bite you?
yeah. Yeah. I guess there could be
Straight
two
for the
traditions
penis.
of raw meat nationalists. Yeah, straight for the dick.
They'll bite your penis off until you exsanguinate. You bleed to death.
In the testicles and the
They'll steal
gonads
your
for that maximum
testosterone by eating your
testosterone,
testicles. Then
and
they'll
not
do
even
some
eat the rest of the
do some
animals.
sets of front squats while you bleed out.
Run around the savannah just biting animals' balls off. Whole new definition of raw egg.
They don't want the rest of the animal. They just want the test.
African raw egg nationalists are just running around the Serengeti biting animals' balls off.
Well, that'd be raw testicle nationalism, which would be a very interesting avenue for nationalism to go down. That could be a very, very potent form of nationalism.
So it's extremely potent. And then do some Yodi sunning.
Yeah, that'd probably be the sort of thing you do while digesting your freshly caught testicles.
Just sticking your gooch at the sun. Kick some of those rays. Anyways, we should probably get back to that. I'm just going into just complete nonsense at this point.
No, this is pretty on topic for roaring nationalism in theory and practice. Let's go over some of the...
Any standout recipes?
Let's flick through them and talk about any that stood out to us. So we need to talk about the OG original Geronda egg shake. I mentioned this earlier, so this is based on the 36 eggs per day diet. And one shake is 12 raw eggs, 350 mils half and half, which is milk and heavy cream in equal quantities, a third of a cup of milk and egg protein powder, and a banana to taste. I should also note, this guy is British, not sure where in Britain he's from, so probably using British measurements with the cups and things like that, in case anyone at home is wanting to make this.
Thanks, Jack. Yeah, for precision.
This is very precise. If you get it wrong, you might die. You'll lose all your gains and you'll die.
So he doesn't on this particular, on the OG, which is pretty interesting. Although I guess we could try to figure out the calories, but some of the
he says the calories.
Sorry,
each shake is roughly 1,800 calories.
5,000. And so in weeks 3 to 6, you'll be taking in. So each shake works out at roughly 1,800 calories. Now, keep in mind, a little bitch boy, average sedentary piece of shit, male dude, average height is going to be on 2,500 calories, depending on how active they are, 2,000 calories a day to 3,000 calories a day, depending on how active they are and their body size and their weight goals. So a single shake is 1,800 calories.
I actually considered trying one of these because I'm trying to put on weight at the moment, and these seem like pretty good ways.
Let us know.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd do it with 12 eggs. Might do it with fewer than 12 eggs.
And then he says, so in weeks 3 to 6, you'll be taking in 5,400 calories from the shakes alone. And that means with meat in the meals included, you're looking at close to 7,000 calories per day.
Yeah, because he gives you this, it's an 8-week cycle of how to use these shakes to stack on tons of muscle. Where week 1, you have one of these shakes for breakfast.
Only muscle.
Lunch, you have a pound of meat and salad. For dinner, you have a pound of meat and salad. Week 2, you have a shake for breakfast, pound of meat and salad for lunch, another shake as a snack, and a pound of meat and salad for dinner. Then weeks 3 to 6 is where it really kicks up. So you have a shake for breakfast, pound of meat and salad for lunch, another shake as a snack, pound of meat and salad for dinner and a third shake. So weeks 3 to 6, you're you're getting a lot of calories, and then it tapers down. So week 7 is the same as week 2, week 8 is the same as week 1, and then you go back to normal. You go back to not eating 7,000 calories a day.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to dispute that you would put on weight if you were to do this. I just don't know.
It'd be really hard
I'm
not
not
to put on
convinced
weight
that
with
it
that.
would all be muscle. I'm really not. I guess it depends how much you're working out. Like, to be fair, if you were spending like 2 hours in the day, 2 hours per day in the gym. But the thing is, like, here's the thing, right? Not a like. How would I say? I guess a question for me is he hasn't really spent that much time talking about like rest, and a really big part of like actually putting on muscle and strength and like improving your athletic performance is resting. And it's like you're stressing your muscles for like acutely for, I don't know, an hour or 2 hours a day, but then you also need to rest, right? So it's like, is he expecting people to be in the gym 1 to 2 hours a day every day, 7 days a fucking week? Like, maybe you can keep that up if you're on testosterone, exogenous testosterone.
Yeah. This is a lot of calories. I do think a lot of people underestimate how much more they need to be eating when they're going to the gym and trying to put on muscle.
7,000 calories.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't be having that problem with this. And
yeah, that's a good point. Like,
and the
people
thing
definitely
is,
need to increase their calories.
if you're just consuming what he sets out here in the diet, you'll be eating pretty clean, which is another mistake people make when they try to put on weight, is they just eat shit and
True.
then get fat instead of getting muscly.
When we used to bulk, I think every like 18, 19-year-old dude who's like gone through a bodybuilding or powerlifting phase, like, and their friends have seen their friends just get fat, right?
A dirty bulk.
Just dirty
Yeah,
bulk.
don't
Dirty bulk
bulk.
is the biggest
It's
load
not
of
going to help you.
bullshit.
It's not in your
It's
interests.
not a dirty bulk. Don't pretend that you're doing it like for some like body composition fucking bullshit. Like, you're just being a fat piece of shit. Just say that you like Oreo McFlurries and get it over with, all right?
So
Dirty
yeah,
bulk.
this diet, if you're going really hard in the gym and you want to stack on weight and you're not worried about putting on a bit of fat, like, yeah, this isn't a terrible idea. It'd work. You're going to put on
just
weight.
make sure you're actually going to the gym,
Yeah,
because it's
actually
not a
go to
dirty
the
bulk
gym.
if you're not going
watch
to the gym.
YouTube
If you're not going to the
and
gym,
drink 3 of these shakes a day.
you're not dirty
Just
bulking
flicking
if
through
you're just eating
TikTok
McDonald's and not
while
going to the
snatching
gym.
down 3 of these OG shakes per day.
Hey, bro, I'm dirty bulking.
Yeah, and then he offers a bunch of variations on the Geronda shake. He's got his own where he says you can use between 6 and 12 eggs. So you don't have to smash 12 raw eggs in one sitting. Ben Braddock, who, as has been previously noted, is an important ally of this raw egg nationalist movement, or an important member, I should say. He's not just an ally, he is a member. He's also got his own shake. Also got Boris from Prague's Big Dick Tonic, which is more or less the same as the shake recipe we read out, but it has some berries and sometimes nut butter and maybe whey protein powder.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I love berries in my shake. Like blueberries and shake. So blueberries and peanut butter go together really well.
Yep. Here's a good section. Here's an important section. Cooked eggs. And under the title Scrambled Eggs and How Not to Fuck Them Up is some really useful advice on how to cook scrambled eggs well. I have used this a few times now, and it does work. It is good. When you're cooking scrambled eggs, you let so he does it with butter. I do it with olive oil. I'm not sure whether he'd take exception to that or
I'm
not.
pretty sure people like olive oil, right? Olive oil is pretty healthy, hey?
Yeah,
Of all the
I
oils
like
you
olive
can be
oil.
cooking with. Yeah.
Anyway,
He
so
didn't really comment much on
he cooks them with
oils.
butter. He says, turn the heat down under the pan, put butter in the pan, and let it get kind of bubbly. And then you put the eggs in, and you wait for the eggs to form kind of a thin, solid film on the pan.
Yep.
And then you draw the eggs into the middle of the pan gently from the sides of the pan.
So good.
and
It's
then
making me
wait for them
hungry
to
just
form
talking about it.
that film again, and just keep doing this until they're cooked. And don't cook them all the way through. Leave them a little bit runny. And this is good. This is excellent
Yeah, he knows what
advice.
he's doing. This
This
is
book
very
is
good.
worth reading
Yeah, this
just
is
for
very good.
this. This is
Dude, just the
excellent.
egg recipes, and he knows what he's like. I've highlighted a bunch because they're legitimately good pieces of advice. Like some of them, I went through a bit of an egg phase, so I learnt some of these little tips. Like his point about he's got a good poached egg section. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
when you're
yeah.
stirring, right? Stirring the poached eggs. Like the mistake is to stir it too fast, so the vortex. So like we do, you stir pot of water, so you create a little vortex, and then you put the raw eggs into the vortex, and like the vortex keeps the eggs in place and cooks them until like when the vortex settles down. By that point, they're sealed, and you can just let them settle. You don't have to keep on spinning it. But you'll notice, as it says, like you don't want to spin it too fast, because if you spin it too fast, it can actually throw the egg out, and you just get a stringy mess. Fucking on point.
Yeah.
This guy's cooked some eggs.
He's cooked some eggs in his life. Yeah. I'm glad that he's encouraging people to learn to cook, and to learn to cook well. That is really good.
Shout out to based spinach, bruh.
Based spinach. Ask Spinach Bra at Based Spinach if you want to know the benefits of eating spinach, which are many.
I need to know about spinach. The benefits of eating spinach so much. I'm going to go to at based spinach.
This is the
Bruh.
fucking weird thing about Twitter anons, because I just don't spend that much time on Twitter. So I don't think I've gotten used to this fundamental this aspect of the culture where you'll have an account which is just focused on one thing, like based spinach, learning about the benefits of eating spinach.
There's a few Twitter add-ons that I fucking love. One, my favorite, I think, of all time is Finance L's. Yeah, if you look for Finance L's on Twitter, I think it's at terrible finance or something like that. Anyways, finance sales so good. It's just people getting wrecked on crypto and getting wrecked on inflation, and basically getting wrecked on everything. It's so satisfying. Yeah. So, but there's some great ones in the like bro science health field.
Yeah, yeah. He's got the recipe for fisherman's eggs I haven't made, but I would really like to make it. He has a recipe for shakshuka as well, which I do make, and that's really good. I was happy to see that in here. Yeah, the fisherman's egg sounds really good. It's a tin of sardines, 2 whole eggs, half a red onion diced, a large tomato, 2 cloves of garlic, half a teaspoon of Kalamata olives chopped, handful of fresh parsley and salt and pepper, and you basically cook this stuff in a pan and then crack the eggs on top and cook those. Really good.
It's very good. All of the like, I think like generally people should get this book for the egg recipes.
I tried this too, about how to peel fresh tomatoes easily. So you put them in a jug, pour boiling water over them, leave them for a minute, then pour off the boiling water, and you can just kind of pull the skin off really easily. That was good.
So smart. So
This,
fucking good.
this is not a bad book
I
at
love
all.
this shit.
When I put it on our reading list, I thought we were just going to laugh at it, but it's really not bad. I also like when he's talking about portions, he'll say things like, "This will make enough for 2 or for 1 hungry raw egg nationalist." So instead of talking about someone who's eating the food, you're always a raw egg nationalist.
That's so good.
Yeah, it is really good.
What his shakshuka? Did you try his shakshuka? I want to try his shakshuka. Shakshuka? Is that how you say shakshuka recipe?
I don't know how it's pronounced exactly, but yeah, we've been making it for a while.
How is it? Did you try his recipe?
I haven't tried his recipe, but and next time we make it, I probably will. But yeah, we've made this a lot because it's really, really easy to make. It's good for you because it's all fresh food. Yeah, it's good. Highly recommended. His recipe looks really nice because he's teaching people to cook, but not just cook really shitty things, but to cook things which are nice with spices, with good food in them, but they're also not complicated. So if you're in a rush or you've never cooked before, you'll be able to make basically anything here pretty easily. Except poached eggs do take a bit of practice. Except maybe the poached eggs.
Yeah, and I'd say like, yeah, it depends on what you like your consistency to be for the different egg recipes as well. Like some people prefer their scrambled eggs like harder or fluffier, you know. So like you just got to figure it out for yourself. But it gives a good base, a good starting base.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be having such an in-depth conversation about cooking eggs.
About
with you, Jack.
well, that's the beauty of Egg Nationalism in theory and practice. He brings you in with a bunch of good recipes, but he's also got theory to deepen your relationship with these recipes. About how you can use them to fight global homogenization.
What? Globo homo? Globo homo.
Yeah. He's got stuff on steak. He recommends actually Geronda's steak and eggs diet, which is in some way it's a pretty it's a low carb, high protein, high fat diet, which would work well for competition, for bodybuilding.
That's it, man. Like I started like learning how to cook steak properly last year and beginning of this year, and I realized what I was doing is I was overcooking steak before, and I think like if people out there, shout out to anybody who's listening, just anybody, thank you for giving us your attention. Is if you're a well done sort of person, or even if you're medium rare, just inch towards a little bit rarer, you know, because like if you're buying a really good steak, and that's the other thing, I think like the better the steak quality is, the rarer you should have it, basically. Really high quality, like Scotch fillet or whatever, like don't overcook it, because actually the blood and all that sort of stuff is really fucking delicious.
Yeah, I really like.
And yeah, I don't really have anything much more productive to say other than that. Just like you might be, for whatever reason, you got into a bit of a funk. You've overcooked steak all your life. Just edge a little bit more. Edge yourself a little bit more towards the raw shit.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
While also edging, you know, in other respects to get your test levels up. You should be always edging, eating raw steak, eating raw eggs, and going to the gym.
The manosphere, where they just there's they overlap also with the nofap and the like where they say like you hold in your semen even if you have sex. So it's like
the semen retention people give you superpowers,
and then semen retention.
You don't let women steal your sexual energies.
There's been a lot of overlap between this and like this conversation and yoga stuff, considering
really
raw egg nationalism. But like,
do yoga people do that
semen
too?
retention stuff?
No woman would ever get any of my cum. They're not stealing that from me.
Tantra. It comes from Tantra.
Nice.
And the Taoists, I think, also get around this shit as well, which is like they do semen retention, and I'm pretty sure they also
everyone to the east of the Urals do semen retention, because that's really cool.
Yeah, that explains.
Nice.
Khabib. Khabib never come once in his life.
It's a stern rejoinder to the onanism of the West. What were we? Oh yeah, he has some really good recipes for steak sauces that I really want to try. I haven't made steak since reading this book, but I really want to try out his peppercorn sauce.
Oh yeah, peppercorn sauce. Yeah, I get around peppercorn. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What he left out though, I was a little bit disappointed with this. Is like, unless I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure he left out just like the classic how to just like get the what's it called? It's called jus.
Yeah.
Just. I've never really actually just. It's spelled
I think it's
Jus. I assume it's French or something, and it's jus. And it's just like afterwards, you just like the stuff on the pan. There's actually a way to get the stuff off the pan. And roughly speaking, I mean, there's videos on YouTube, but you can just get some like red wine or white wine, depends what you like, or vinegar if you don't like wine. And just chuck that on that bitch after you take the steak off.
Mm.
And if you mix in like some garlic or some mushrooms or whatever as well, mushroom and garlic, very good with red wine. You end up just with like this amazing sauce. and you've got to do it at like whatever the right temperature is, so you don't like burn or whatever. Yada yada. Go look at a YouTube video. If you can figure out how to make jus, you're gonna have a good steak every time. Jus plus like a nice like rare steak. I'm so about this raw egg nationalism, man. I fucking really like this.
But that's his simple peppercorn sauce uses the sauce like the stuff left in the pan after you've cooked your steak.
Yeah, so I guess that's a jus. That's a jus then. Because I think jus just applies to anything where you've done it like that. So you can just have like
really?
jus. The most simple sort of jus would be to not add anything to it, like no garlic or no mushrooms or no any extra stuff, and you just add like a bit of vinegar to pull the remnants off.
Mm-hmm,
But if you want to make fancy jus, that's how you make the sauces, like all different types of sauces. It's like jus plus some spin. It's fucking delicious.
Yeah, it is good. It is good.
I feel like, this is.
He has a steak tartare recipe.
This is just such a mundane thing to talk about, but it's also real. I really like this stuff.
He has steak tartare, which is really nice. I really like it. There's a butcher near us which prepares the mince for it.
Oh yeah,
we have that.
Yeah.
Not regularly because it's expensive, but semi-regularly.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah.
Just eat a mound of raw beef. You need to trust the butcher.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'd be eating tartare in Indonesia.
No, that's asking for trouble.
Although the one thing that, again, am I mistaken? But he doesn't really talk about fish and seafood.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, he doesn't.
Because like when there's been these studies done, and like far be it from me to quote studies like as if I know anything about this stuff. But at least back in the day when I saw some of these things, one thing that stood out to me was like this study of different rates of like heart disease and diabetes and stuff in different countries, and then looking at like the dietary composition. And one of the interesting things was like Mediterranean. They call it like the Mediterranean diet of like very high fat in terms of like fatty fish, or like also like high in olive oil and avocados, maybe not avocados, but like other fatty foods. But these people in like Greece and stuff, very low, and on that sort of diet in other parts of the world, like Southern Italy and stuff, very low rates of heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
And Japan as well, lots of fatty fish, low rates of heart disease. I just found that really interesting, and I love that shit. So,
yeah, we're now up to the treats section. Actually, this brings me around to something that he does talk about quite a lot. He says that raw egg nationalism is really opposed to the typical gym bro tuna chicken rice diet, because he says it's boring. You don't get your calories. You don't enjoy your life or your food, and that's I'm sympathetic to that. If you really don't care that you're just eating chicken and rice all the time, then go for it, I guess. But you'll probably enjoy things more if you're cooking more interesting foods.
Yeah, I think this is one of the big breakthroughs that I made with, and I'm not cooking at the moment because I've been traveling and I don't know, like just being lazy. But looking at food as like as a fun, like cooking your own food as like a fun, creative thing to do, and like going and buying an interesting cookbook and learning, like a really good one for healthy eating as well, but it's also fucking delicious, is Hetty McKinnon's stuff. Community and Neighborhood, Hetty McKinnon's, it's just full of salads, right? Lentils and chickpeas and all that sort of stuff. Delicious. And just learning those things, one, they're really easy to cook, but two, because they're healthy, it's like you can both have fun by cooking and learning something new, and you can eat healthy, and it's delicious. It's like, what's not to like?
Yeah.
So I must be sounding like a salesperson for cooking. Man, I really want to cook now.
Yeah.
This episode's had a very strange effect on me. I'm hungry and I want to cook now.
And much more nationalistic.
And really nationalistic.
Feeling very nationalistic.
I know I normally talk a lot of shit about Australia, but now I'm just feeling really patriotic.
You're going to come back with a gigantic Southern Cross tattooed on your back.
That's the most patriotic thing you can do is go to Bali and get a Southern Cross tattoo
There is
on your
nothing
calf.
more patriotic in the Australian context than doing that.
And get arrested. Get arrested in Bali for being disruptive.
Being disruptive is a nice way of putting it. Oh, actually, did you notice there's in the treats section, in the intro to the treats section, he talks about Mike Marr's harassment architecture?
Yeah. Yeah, that was very obviously coming.
Yeah.
It was not at all surprising.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me that he is not only aware of Mike Marr's oeuvre, but also references it and recommends it. That is actually something I've noticed with the right-wing Twitter people, or at least weird right-wing Twitter, is that they all reference each other and, like, try to shill each other's stuff.
In that way, they're a very like supportive community, like they're all hyping each other up. I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
good.
nice.
It's better than the left, which just like rip into each other. They like rip each other down.
That said,
No, it's true.
I haven't spent nearly enough time on Twitter to really say whether there are or aren't fights within like weird online weird right Twitter. There may well be that I'm simply not aware of because I don't pay enough attention. Like, I'm sure we have
Yeah,
listeners or
yeah.
people on the Discord who do frequent this part of Twitter. Are there big fights within it or not? I don't know. Let us know.
Yeah, or like abuse us on Twitter. Find us on Twitter at Book Club 666, Book Club from Hell 666. Hey, also, if you know the guys who have at Book Club from Hell on Twitter, tell them to give that handle up and send it to us. We'll pay them for it because they don't use it. They don't put out their podcast anymore, and they've got that handle, and it clearly should be our handle. Like we have actually kept up doing our podcast. They started their stupid podcast. And they kept it up for like 3 episodes or something, and then they backed off, and then they didn't
That's
get rid of their
weak.
Twitter. So go harass those guys. Tell them to
Dox them.
get in contact with us.
I
Dox them.
Don't dox them, but turn up at their houses
so we can get that handle. and threaten them. No, don't. Please, nobody threaten anybody. Don't want to be held liable for that shit.
Yeah. He talks about bread a lot. He says he doesn't eat bread and he feels better for it. Cool. Like, yeah.
Yep, that makes sense. See, I like chocolate croissants way too much.
I eat a pretty low carb
I don't care
diet.
if it's going to take me to an early grave. I don't care.
My carbs are still
chocolate croissants and a coffee in the morning is great.
Still under 100 grams a day. So I was pretty strict keto for quite a while.
You were keto, right? Yeah.
Yeah, for almost 2 years.
So
I felt really good on it. The problem was it did hit my exercise tolerance, and it was fine during the pandemic because you couldn't go out to eat and things. But now it's just such a pain in the ass for socializing. I've eased off the keto.
So going full keto was tough when you're doing distance running, right?
Yeah. Distance running feels really bad. It felt terrible.
On keto. But now you're at like 100 grams. And what's a normal carb intake for a person? Like 400 or 500 grams or something a day?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah,
but like you're pretty low carbs.
Under 100 a day. Never really. I don't slip into ketosis.
And how's that?
Feel really good.
How's that feeling? Yeah. Do you ever try to get down into ketosis, just like every now and then, or you just completely
no reason really
forgotten about it? Yeah. I just eat shitloads of cake. Really, that's all I subsist on. Cake. Stuff my fat face with. There's a delicious cheesecake at the cafe down the road. When we get off this, I think I'm going to go get some cheesecake.
There's a really, really good part. He talks about bread and how grains are bad for you, and then also starts talking about a powerful historical argument against the consumption of grains, because he says that the introduction of grains as a diet staple was part of one of the greatest losses of freedom in human history as we became agricultural. And so not only did that happen, but we started getting shorter and weaker and more prone to disease as we ceased to be hunter-gatherers and started living basically, well, not even as wage slaves or wage cucks, but just as fucking serfs.
Wages. Serfs. Wage serfs.
Yeah. And then he also talks about how the Mongols regarded farmers as just like animals, as just these pieces of shit. And I assume that Raw Egg Nationalist is at least hinting that if you don't eat enough raw eggs, not enough meat, if you eat too many grains, then you're probably an agent of Globo Homo. just, just that word. Yeah. Here's a really good quote. Here's a really good quote. I just flicked to it. Consider not eating bread as an important part of your revolt against the domestication of the human spirit, which has been taking place since the dawn of recorded history, and still continues apace. Never forget that, while the lords of lies want you to subsist on GMO, glyphosate bread, maybe with the occasional Beyond Meat soy slop sausage or insect burger for variety, they themselves will still be dining on the best of God's bounty, the finest Angus beef, pork from black Iberico pigs, the fowl of the air, and the fish of the sea. But these latter-day domesticators are not Mongols, fitted to rule over you by their free and noble lifestyle, and you are not cattle, at least not yet. Embrace the eternal spirit of the steppe. I really liked that bit.
I really like it.
Just throw that into the middle of the cookbook.
He didn't make any goy references, did he? He did. There was no anti-Semitism in this, was there? It was just like clean nationalism, wasn't it?
Clean national, definitely suspicious of women.
Yeah.
That
but
really is.
He does get points for not being anti-Semitic, right?
Yeah, does get points for for not being anti-Semitic.
He does get into. I mean, it depends. Like, I don't think that you can just assume that somebody who's into conspiracy theories is anti-Semitic because he talks about, like, say, the Lord of Lies. It's not clear to me that that's an anti-Semitic reference. I mean, yeah, and all that. And I start talking about cabals and all this sort of stuff. But I think he's fine. You know what? If I was to get into a form of nationalism really hard, it would
be the raw egg variety.
Yeah, like, he's winning me over.
Those scrambled eggs are really good.
Really good.
Yeah, and I really want to try Raw Egg Nationalist's no-churn anabolic ice cream. I am a blue-pilled cuckold, so I'll probably replace the granulated sugar in it with allulose or something like that, because I don't want to blow my blood sugar through the roof momentarily, but yeah, does sound really good.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Do you reckon we could start? I mean, if this fails, if this podcast fails, we should definitely consider starting some sort of like cooking related channel, YouTube channel or something like that, where we do like weird cooking stuff. Like,
I mean, we could. I just don't know how to cook very well.
Yeah,
but if we're nationalists, though,
if we're really nationalistic, your suspicion of the nation state will have to go out the window.
Yeah, but I see that's the thing. I think I guess like he's made his way around my suspicion of the nation state and my love of Bitcoin by like giving me really good egg recipes. I didn't realize that was that easy.
He just had to find the right way in.
The way to a man's heart is through his belly, apparently.
That's true. Yeah. Then the last bit's on alcohol and cocktails, which is just not really relevant to me. But yeah, like I'm sure they're good. Some of them do have raw eggs in them.
Well, yeah, like what's it called? The sour. There's this one something sour, which is a classic cocktail that actually does have raw eggs in it. I don't know. Don't drink enough cocktails. Eggnog. I think the eggnog recipe looks delicious. He does put a liter of bourbon in it, though. But maybe you need that much because probably a fair bit of the alcohol will evaporate anyways.
He's got his own signature coffee flip. Raw Egg Nationalist's coffee flip. Has a whole yolk at the bottom of the glass.
Yeah. I just don't know, like, if like adding raw eggs to these otherwise fine cocktails is a good idea. Maybe he's lost me there.
Yeah, maybe it's he has a thing, obviously, and his thing is raw eggs, and maybe just the thing shouldn't be applied everywhere. But then again, I don't know. I don't drink.
Then again, he's been on Tucker Carlson, not us. So
what does he look like?
There you go. Results, but no. He stayed a non.
Oh, really?
He just he audioed in. Yeah.
See, the one thing with the Anons that I don't like is I want to know how jacked they are. They talk so much about the gym. I
okay.
want to see physiques.
Here's the issue I have. This might be my only criticism of this entire book, is that when I went to look at his actual physique, couldn't find any pictures of it.
Yeah, that is a big problem.
I just think if you're going to talk a big game about this sort of stuff, you got to flex. You got to even like I don't even.
You
mind
can block
if you
out
just,
your
like,
face. That's fine, but I want to see your physique, and I want cock pictures.
Yeah, cock pics and like, in fact, cock pics are better if I can't see your face. So like, definitely send pics, because otherwise, like, you just sound like a bit of a poser.
Yeah.
TBH.
Yeah.
Because maybe you've actually followed this raw egg stuff, and now you're a fat piece of shit with heart disease.
Yeah.
So, like, that's my only substantive criticism. It's like, pics or it didn't happen.
Yeah. We definitely need some pictures. If you're listening to Egg Nationalist, you can just send pictures of your cock straight to me. No one else needs to see them.
At Book Club Hell 666 on Twitter, Raw Egg Nationalist. We should start haranguing this guy, asking him for cock pictures.
I don't really have much else to say about this book. Like, I recommend it. It's really, it's funny, and it has some really good recipes in it. It's just the framework of a cookbook being national, like Twitter right-wing nationalism is so funny. And it fits very naturally, actually. Now that we've read a few books from right-wing Twitter, or weirdo right-wing Twitter, combining bodybuilding, nationalism, and a cookbook is actually quite natural. It's quite a logical thing to do.
It's weirdly cohesive. Cohesive.
Yes, surprisingly cohesive. So, yep, recommendation. Next episode's probably going to be The Conquest of Bread by Kropotkin, which is not very similar to this. Kropotkin probably wouldn't have been all about raw egg nationalism.
Yeah, probably not a raw egg nationalist. Pretty interesting, though.
Probably wasn't very stacked, though.
No, not at all.
Means that I don't take anything he wrote seriously. Can't do it.
All right, well, we should sign off then. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.